Now, one of the biggest ports in the U.S. is seeing a sharp drop in volumes, or has seen a sharp drop in volumes. Cargo volumes at the Port of Los Angeles hovering at pandemic lows in the month of March because of slowdown in global trade. Protracted labor contract talks earlier this month also not helping matters because it prompted some importers to shift their cargo to ports on the U.S. East Coast. But well, things could be changing. Let's talk more and bring in the Port of Los Angeles Executive Director, Gene Seroka. For a nice change, he's with us here in person in Singapore at the SGX. Let's get to him right now. Gene, good to see you.
Great to see you. Good morning, Marty.
Or welcome back, rather, because I remember you used to live here for a long time. So you're in town, I know, to sign an MOU with the port folks here in Singapore. What is that all about?
This is really interesting, and good morning, Marty. We've got a memorandum of understanding that we'll be signing later this afternoon with the Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore on a green and digital shipping corridor. Singapore is well known for international trade and its work around bunkering or fueling up these large ships. So as that technology becomes greener, we're going to be right here at the center of it all with Singapore.
Terrific. And how long is this for?
This is going to go into perpetuity. We have a goal to have zero-emission ships traversing the Pacific and coming to Los Angeles by the year 2030. So we're in this for the long haul with our partners. And it'll be the fourth such agreement. Just last month, with the Lieutenant Governor of California, I signed agreements with the ports of Tokyo and Yokohama. And that also came after the Shanghai International Group signed with us at the Yangshan Deep Seaport.
Okay, terrific. So listen, let's talk business. Q1, not so good on year, but things are picking up.
Yeah, that's right. We're down a little more than 30% in the first quarter, off all-time highs, our best first quarter ever just last year, to the depths of lows this year. And really three main reasons. One, this protracted labor negotiation with our dock workers has sent cargo to the East and Gulf Coast. Second is general concern about the economy with rising interest rates. And third, we still have heavy inventories in our warehouses across the country. Retailers are trying to get all that out to get back on a more normal calendar in the second half of the year.
Okay. Man's coming on this.
Let's talk about those. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about those labor negotiations, because I understand the dock workers have been working without a contract since July of last year. Where are you at with the negotiations? How soon can you clinch it, and how important is it to be able to bring cargo and confidence back to the LA port?
Well, we just had some good news last week, Mandy, but we're beyond the outer reaches of how long it traditionally takes to negotiate this agreement between the Pacific Maritime Association, which is the employers group from the private sector, and the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, the dock workers across 29 ports on the West Coast. The encouraging news last night in a release put out by the ILWU is that some key issues were agreed upon, and it allows them to move to the next phase of negotiations. We've encouraged both sides to stay at the table and hash through these last issues so we can bring confidence back to our import and export markets.
Obviously, labor is just one of the many costs that shippers and everyone else in the supply chain have been facing of late. Where are you seeing operating costs for people in the shipping supply chain, and how does it jive vis-a-vis freight rates, and whether or not the rates that they're getting are able to be able to cover the higher operating costs?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Mandy. And just about everybody is re-looking at their supply chains, from sourcing and procurement to how they use their transportation partners. And with rising interest rates, the consumer price index going up, everybody's focused on cost. What we see are a couple things. In the United States, 9 consecutive months of declining inflation numbers. Very encouraging. And for the month of March, both producer and wholesale prices declined again, which is also strong. The next piece to this is that, coming off of all-time highs last year, freight rates have moderated and dropped quite a bit. We're seeing numbers in the neighborhood of $1,400 to $1,500 from coastal cities in North Asia to Los Angeles now, and that's compared to $1,800, $1,200 and plus $1,000 rates at the peak of the shipping surge during COVID-19. So we're seeing prices moderate, inflation coming down, and an opportunity to recalibrate what that shipping calendar looks like in the back half of this year.
So, Gene, it sounds like shippers are gradually, their pricing power is eroding, right? Let's talk about cost pressures on the labor side and get back to the talks with the unions, et cetera. How far apart are both sides? Is it not necessarily about strictly money, or is it about working conditions, insurance, or what?
Right. It's a whole gamut of activities. And please remember, Marty, these two sides have not bargained in about 8 years in an official setting through extensions and other mechanisms that got us here to the expiry date of July 1, 2022. Safe to say it comes down to the areas of wages, robotics and automation at ports and terminals, training and education, as well as health benefits and jurisdiction. I think slowly each side is chipping away at their big issues. And again, they've been at the table the entire time. They're not going at each other really hard. This is all about the negotiation. And if you ask both sides, they of course would like to see this move faster, but it's pretty meticulous discussion that they're having.
All right, so look, I don't mean to put you in a position, but you know, we were just talking about how freight rates have come down noticeably or significantly. Do you get the sense that labor now has less leverage in these talks?
Oh, I would argue that labor always has leverage in these areas. The ILW, 22,000 members strong across the West Coast, Hawaii, and Alaska, have 29 ports that they manage. And why collective bargaining is so difficult at a coast-wide level, please remember all 29 of these ports have their local agreements to get done as well. So we need to keep pressing and keep pushing to make sure that we get this agreement done in good time here pretty quickly, because as we head into a more traditional peak season this summertime, we need everybody ready to go.
You're going to need the hands, understood. Mans?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a number of forecasts out there for U.S. recession later on in the year, Gene. You know, you were saying that, you know, it was a bit of a rocky start to the year, but you have seen improvement in container movement. Do you think that improvement, therefore, is going to be short-lived?
No, I don't, and for a couple of reasons. There have been many pundits calling for recession in the United States now for the better part of 2 years. With outstanding job openings still near 11 million, the lowest unemployment rate in 50 years, and save the month of March, a consumer that continues to be resilient in the United States. Although it's going to get a little bumpy, I don't see us heading into recession imminently. That being said, the retailers and others still have to work their inventory out of the nationwide look at warehousing and start to get back on that calendar that I've mentioned. And that's summer fashion, back to school products, fall fashion, and then the traditional year-end holidays. So I continue to remain optimistic, although we're in an area now coming off these all-time highs that look a lot different than they did before COVID.
All right, Gene, listen, fantastic talking to you. Thanks for dropping by. Great to see you, by the way.
Always good seeing you,
Good
Marty.
luck, safe travels, and do it again very soon.
Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate your time. Gene Soroka there from the Port of Los Angeles, joining us for a nice change in person here at the SGX. Man.